What's good, fam? Teacher Eddie back with another reaction. Have you missed me? I know I've missed you. Just want to remind everyone that tomorrow, July 13th, Tuesday at 9 p.m., Allie, Mistress Allie, and Teacher Eddie are going to be debuting our brand new podcast, Getting Strange. It's going to be live streamed on Twitch, and we'll also be live streaming it on YouTube for those who may have missed the show or whatever, but mainly we're going to be concentrating on Twitch. So please check out the link in the description. Also check out the trailer that I posted today. Really hope you could join us for that. Today I'm going to reacting to something really special. So these are two of my most favoritist people on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of YouTube, but I do watch BuzzFeed Unsolved. I am a big, huge fan of these two gentlemen, Ryan and Shane. Unfortunately, they're leaving BuzzFeed, but that's okay because they're leaving for greener pastures. But it is one of the best shows that they have on BuzzFeed, and I have no clue what the hell BuzzFeed is thinking. But either case, was Ben Franklin in a sex cult? Sex cult? You damn right he was. Ben Franklin was the definition of a dirty old man. So let's see what Ryan and Shane have to say about it.
Guys, what do you know about Ben Franklin?
Kites.
Ethics.
Kites and
keys. And the feather with the ball, right? He did that?
Hang on a sec.
Is that Newton?
Sir
Yeah,
Isaac
never mind. That was
Newton.
Sir Newton.
He also helped Nicolas
Yes.
Cage find treasure.
Okay.
Born in 1706, Benjamin Franklin is often regarded as the model American citizen. Throughout his life, he was a lot of things. Look at all these things.
Yeah, he was. He was a politician, an author, a scientist, civic leader, postmaster, first postmaster general, media mogul, inventor, diplomat. Absolutely. That was his main role in the entire American experiment, revolution, everything else was being a diplomat. And his travels to Europe during and after the Revolutionary War really helped America. It really can't be understated how much Franklin helped, and also in writing the Declaration of Independence alongside Adams and Jefferson. Franklin was an integral part of the founding of America, by far one of the most important people, possibly only second to George Washington himself.
Beyond all that stuff, though, he seems like the kind of guy you wouldn't mind sharing a beer with. But if you did spend some quality time with Ben Franklin, things might get weird.
Wait, are these saucy things?
These are some saucy things.
Yeah. He's gonna ruin the history books for all of us.
In the years during and after America's fight for independence, Franklin spent much of his time serving as a diplomat in Europe. And it's a good thing he did. Author Walter Isaacson has argued that America wouldn't have won the war without Franklin's diplomacy in France. It wasn't all politics for Franklin, though.
Yeah.
At the time, Paris was regarded as one of the most cosmopolitan cities.
And the interesting thing about Franklin and many of the founders actually is how they ended up in America. So England was actually trying to populate North America, the Americas. And so they were offering a lot of people who were in debtor's prison. They were offering them the chance to, look, hey, you want to go to jail, or do you want to go to the Americas and work land for us there? And of course, most people were like, okay, I'll take the trip. And Benjamin Franklin's father was one of those people. And once they got here, they're like, well, how are the English going to keep an eye on us or even know what the hell we're doing all the way across the ocean? So a lot of them were like, hey, England, come get me if you can, right? So there was some, nefarious plots and nefarious things as far as how a lot of the founders were born into America, Franklin being one of them. And Franklin was definitely a womanizer. That was his big weakness, so to speak. He would have definitely been Me Too'd nowadays.
Up to that point in history. And a wave of cultural enlightenment paired with a strong economy afforded the upper class with the means to, get a little crazy. But we'll dig into that in just a moment. Franklin seemingly found himself right at home in this environment. To give you an idea of his bohemian life abroad, consider the curious morning routine he picked up during his time in France.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I think it was powder on the balls.
Powder the wig, powder the balls.
That sounds awesome.
Powder those balls and get out in the street and go do something.
Writing to a friend of his, Franklin described his habit of taking what he called air baths. I rise almost every morning and sit in my chamber without any clothes whatever. Half an hour or an hour according to the season, either reading or writing. The practice is not in the least bit painful, but on the contrary, agreeable.
Describing sexual acts in this kind of language makes them
It's
feel
not really a
demeaning.
sexual act.
There's no sexuality here.
He's just sitting around his house naked.
You know, if his hand happens to fall to his lap.
Do you think guys just jerk off on accident?
I mean, kind of.
Wait, what?
Well, sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes you just can't keep your hands off yourself because you're so damn sexy. But the other thing about Franklin is he had these, traditions, so to speak. Like, for example, he would always sleep with his window open. Even in the dead of winter when it was freezing, he felt the cold air was healthy for you. And nowadays, a lot of people do believe that, whether it be cold therapy, cryotherapy, people who go swimming in the ocean in the winter, just cold therapy in general. And Franklin, that was something he was doing for the majority of his life. But his sexual proclivities, are just infamous. He's said to, some historians believe that he fathered as many as 15 illegitimate children. And the weird thing was, in his younger days, well, I guess not too weird. In his younger days, he was really into older women. And I mean older women. Not just a few years. I'm not talking about cougars. I'm talking like grandmas. But once he hit his 60s and 70s, then he reverted to being more interested in younger women. And he tried to seduce all types of women. He would frequent the red light districts a lot. That's actually where he wrote a lot of Poor Richard's Almanac. He tried to seduce a mother and daughter who were his neighbors. He tried to sleep with his best friend's mistress. He figured, well, hey, she's your side chick, so you know what? Sharing is caring, homie. But yeah, he tried to seduce everybody. And once he got older, he definitely got into younger women, and even into his 70s. His sexual libido and sexual desires and drives did not go anywhere. Franklin was a pea-hound to the max.
Oh, God.
Not this again.
God damn it, I gotta finish now.
Franklin's social calendar in Europe was chock full of invites to gluttonous all-night ragers, where his status as an American statesman made him a novelty. The women of France allegedly couldn't get enough of him. One account describes hundreds of women surrounding him, placing a beautiful wreath upon his head and practically lining up to kiss him.
Yeah, that happened when he arrived. It was actually 300 women. 300 women. The other really black eye on Franklin during this period is his wife. So he was very unkind to his wife. He once described her physique as that of a beer mug. And a lot of people and a lot of historians and contemporaries of his, through letters, believe that he mainly married his wife just so he could take out his sexual frustrations on her. He was not kind to her. And also, when he went overseas, they were married for over 4 decades. And for a majority of that, he cheated on her left and right. But while he was overseas, she fell ill. And he never even made an attempt to come home and see her. And she ended up dying in 1775, I believe. a year before the Declaration of Independence. So he was, again, a poor husband, to say the least.
No, that didn't happen.
That sounds like something though that you do to like your old grandpa.
What?
Not like.
So you are saying at family
what I'm
gatherings.
saying, like, is that something you're gonna do to someone you want to get with? Like, put a fun hat on them and.
It sounds like a fantasy for sure. Like, oh, they adorned me with a wreath.
Ben's home life was equally saucy. When famous painter Charles Wilson Peale paid Franklin a surprise visit one afternoon, he spied the elderly diplomat with a young woman seated on his lap. This sketch of his is believed to depict the two. Kind of a weird thing to sketch.
It looks like she has a hardy grip on his balls.
So you got a vice on there.
They're still wearing pretty much everything.
Yeah.
One thing I will say that disturbs me about this picture is the fact that they both are looking into each other's eyes as they do it.
Yeah, the eyes are very
They're
striking.
kissing, but
in
they're.
this
Yes.
He looks.
That's mad sexy,
Some
though.
historians have evaluated Franklin's habit of charming the elite women of Europe as a strategic ploy, suspecting that he hoped that they would speak favorably of Franklin and his case for American liberty to their policy-making husbands. But many others argue that he was just a vulgar man. Author Albert Henry Smith wrote that Franklin's, quote, animal instincts and passions were strong and rank.
Yes, I remember that is a direct quote. Absolutely.
Ew.
You know, good old animal Ben.
An animal.
Rank.
How young was Franklin at this point?
He probably would have been around 60 or 70.
Oh God, the story got so much worse.
How many butts
70,
did he touch?
A lot of butts.
Based on Franklin's party animal lifestyle, it makes sense that he would be in the same social circles as some of Europe's more notorious scoundrels.
Yes.
And so he was. So let us now turn our attention to a man whose life would soon intersect with Franklin's, Sir Francis Dashwood.
Ooh, Sir Francis Dashwood, yes. Sir Francis Dashwood was the founder of the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club was kind of like, what was that movie with Tom Cruise with the masks and everything? Eyes Wide Shut. Those Eyes Wide Shut parties, like that's like a kid's birthday party in comparison to what the Hellfire Club was pulling off. Disgusting stuff was happening there.
Sir Francis.
Born in 1708, Sir Francis Dashwood was the only heir of a wealthy merchant. He's perhaps best summed up by one author's description, quote, an enormously rich man with a genius for obscenity. Dashwood's primary interests were seemingly set in stone when, in his formative years, he embarked on his Grand Tour, a traditional rite of passage during which wealthy young men traverse through Europe on a cultural odyssey. As his tutor put it, Dashwood, quote, fornicated his way across Europe. In one instance, he even seduced the Empress of Russia while claiming to be Charles XII of Sweden, a man who was, at that point, dead.
Holy shit, this guy's like James Bond.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Did he have a magic penis?
No.
Why did girls find him so
How'd
attractive?
you jump to that?
Oh, I thought you said
I
matching.
thought you said matching penis also.
I feel like
Yeah, that's
most
what I
men
thought
have
for a
matching
second, too.
penis.
Yeah, you'd think.
I don't want. Okay, well.
These travels also inspired Dashwood's fascination with sacred rituals of the past. He kind of hated the religious institutions of his day, but he was simultaneously mystified by Europe's rich history. So when he wasn't womanizing, he was sauntering through dusty catacombs lined with mummified corpses, or sitting in old Roman ruins imagining the orgies of the past. So it's this odd mutual appreciation for debauchery and sacred history that would lead to Dashwood's greatest achievement and ultimately his friendship with Ben Franklin, the Friars of St. Francis of Wycombe, or as it was popularly known,
The Hellfire Club.
Oh shit.
That sounds cool.
Dashwood's Hellfire Club was meant to attract the most depraved and intellectual men of the
Yep.
time. And over the course of the club's history, its lineup would allegedly include such notable men as the Prime Minister of England, the Lord Mayor of London, several of England's greatest artists and poets, the Prince of Wales, and possibly, as evidence would strongly suggest, Ben Franklin. See, Dashwood was
Yeah, so
publicly known.
it's never been confirmed that Franklin was a member of the Hellfire Club. There is no evidence, so to speak, that's like concrete to say, yes, he was a member of the Hellfire Club. But it's widely speculated due to his very close friendship with the founder and Ben Franklin's sexual proclivities, appetite, and everything else. It's hard to believe that he would not have been involved in the Hellfire Club.
to sympathize with the cause of the American rebels, and he had exchanged letters with Franklin on many occasions. Furthermore, Franklin actually visited Dashwood's estate at West Wycombe for an extended period in July of 1772, and during his stay, there is a record of a club meeting taking place. According to author Daniel Mannix, quote, "There seems to be no reason why Franklin should have gone to Wycombe at this special time unless he was a member. Only club members were allowed at Dashwood's estate during club meetings." So with Franklin's likely...
But again, being Ben Franklin, you know, you're saying, yeah, you know, the average Joe or friend or whoever wouldn't be allowed on the estate except for members. But we are talking about Benjamin Franklin, who was a rock star at the time. So again, there you can't say with, you know, any certainty that he was a part of the club. But again, would it be, you know, a shock if he was? Absolutely not.
involvement in mind, let's look at what he might have encountered during his visits with the friars of St. Francis of Wycombe. The members of the club reportedly donned white monk's robes and were each allowed to invite along, quote, a lady of a cheerful, lively disposition to improve the general hilarity. These women also dressed the part, wearing nuns' robes and masks to avoid an embarrassing run-in with a
Oh, damn. Oh man, side chick over there looks like Jason, and the other one is, I have no clue what the hell's going on there, man. Those are some thick women, though. But again, Benjamin Franklin liked them thick back in the day.
husband or acquaintance.
This is some freaky shit here.
Eyes wide shut.
That's where the
Yeah,
train's heading, I
exactly.
could tell.
One of the first locations of the Hellfire Club was on the shores of an island in the Thames River. Shrouded in a thick grove of elm trees, the island was the perfect location for the makeshift monks to spend an evening with their dates away from the prying eyes of the public. It was also ideal because it was home to the crumbling remnants of an old medieval ruin built in the year 1160, known as Mendham Abbey. Dashwood actually set about reconstructing the site, but as he had a flair for the theatrical, he asked that it still resemble a spooky old ruin. But he did install a few upgrades. A series of stained glass windows depicting the club members in, quote, indecent poses. A brilliant pornographic fresco that John Wilkes, who wasn't known to shy away from vulgarity, described as, quote, unspeakable. And an expansive library stocked with classical literature as well as what was called, quote, the finest collection of pornographic books in Great Britain.
This kind of sounds fun because it's
The
like, oh,
finest
they probably
of
all came in and he was like, hey, Barry, I got a stained glass window of you.
Was it just a big stained glass window of Franklin's boner or something?
He was known for them.
He was known for his boners.
Let's, to be clear, he
Big
was
boner
not
Ben.
known for his
He was
bonus.
known for his boners.
That's not true.
Stop
Big,
lying,
yeah,
Shane.
big boner Ben.
Stained glass dick.
Now that the scene is set, let's run through a hypothetical meeting. Please refer to the educational materials beneath your desks.
Oh.
Ooh.
Now, again, all this is hypothetical, and all of this, and again, even Franklin's membership, let alone anyone's membership, is hypothetical, because in the mid-1770s, all of the records of the Hellfire Club were burned. So there are no records of the club except for personal correspondences of alleged members. There are no official records, there are no meeting notes, there's no nothing. Everything was destroyed in the mid-1770s.
Ooh.
Ooh, are we put on robes?
I will say, if you have a mask on like this, I guess it would make it easier to do weird, debaucherous things.
Yeah, don't you feel a little sexier with it on?
Oh God, you're like one of those medieval doctors. I don't like it at all.
In the cover of night, the hooded monks and their dates would arrive to the island on a red gondola. Stepping ashore, they were greeted by the far-off drone of the abbey's organ and the ringing of a ghostly church bell. Outside the abbey, they'd come upon an ominous statue of Harpocrates, the Egyptian god of silence. Once inside the abbey, Dashwood would pour his guests a special cocktail of brandy and brimstone.
Oh, damn, I'm about to say, man, was he trying to Cosby them? Man, that special cocktail, guys had a special cocktail too. And the jello and the pudding pops.
And they'd all raise a glass and toast to the powers of darkness.
This sounds fucking incredible.
I'm so into it.
I love theme parties, and this sounds like it just takes it to a next level.
Except you just don't want to go to that last level.
Yeah, I just want to do the fun stuff, and everyone else is like starts kissing in the corner, and you're like, I gotta go.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever.
With With the striking of a gong, the monks would move further into the abbey and file into the chapel. Here, it is suspected they practiced a black mass, in which a woman laid naked on the altar and the monks proceeded to drink sacrificial wine from her navel.
This is pretty cool so far.
Yeah, they're having fun.
Oh yeah, you were in a fraternity.
We didn't do that.
You didn't do?
Nope, only good things.
Didn't do shots off the navel?
Only did community service.
Yeah.
Lies.
Now, it's generally thought that the members weren't actual Satanists, despite all these weird rituals. Some members actually found this aspect pretty boring. John Wilkes actually found the rituals so dull that he once dressed a baboon up as a demon. Bear with me. He locked it in a trunk, and he stowed it in the abbey. Then, when the members called upon Lord Satan to appear, Wilkes pulled a string to release the frightened animal. For a moment, the members stared in disbelief. Then they lost their minds. The terrified baboon leapt onto Lord Sandwich, yes, the guy who invented the sandwich, causing him to allegedly shout, "Spare me, gracious devil!"
And just, they weren't joking. The sandwich was invented by Lord Sandwich. Allegedly.
I never knew that you'd really come, or I'd never have invoked thee.
I like that even among this like weird society, there was one guy who's like, this society is dull.
The baboon also, after this happened, jumped out the window and they weren't able to catch it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bye, suckers!
So now there's a baboon running around the city of Muck.
Fuck you!
As the alcohol continued to flow, the monks and their guests might share dirty stories or read from the era's more popular works of pornographic literature.
I've each provided you with a snippet of pornography. These are from a piece published in 1740 titled A Dialogue Between a Married Lady and a Maid. So without further ado,
There is between the thighs, just at the bottom of the belly, a piece of flesh. Underneath hangs in a bag or purse 2 little balls, pretty hard, and the harder the better. They call them stones, and in them is contained that white, thick liquor.
White, thick liquor. Or as Eddie calls it, nut butter. Circa 1993, trademark Eddie, nut butter.
Yeah, I didn't find that repulsive.
no, very fun.
All right, well, here we go. He took hold of that place which distinguishes us from men. At the same time, he cried out, "Oh, I have a maid, a virgin to my share."
I like that they seem to not know the words for penis and vagina.
The place that distinguishes us from men.
Yeah.
Okay, his member was stiff and hard as a horn, just as he had finished. Why? My mother, who had heard me shriek, came into the room.
What a happy girl you are, said she. Pluck off this smock, which I will keep for a relic, since it is stained with thy virgin's blood.
A fun little souvenir.
Remember
yeah.
your first night?
I think we got the lesser of it. I think we got let off easy here.
I don't know about that.
You had a playful little description of balls.
But you said thick
Yeah.
white liquor. That's hilarious.
Thick white liquor.
With bellies full of drinks and minds full of smut, guests would start to pair off and retreat to any of the private cells which were prepared and stocked with the,
Private
quote,
cells.
proper objects for lascivious activities.
This is probably what like all Hollywood parties are like.
You think Spielberg's just running through, hard as a horn?
Spielberg, but like.
You should have seen Spielberg last night. His white liquor was so thick.
The thickest of liquors.
After operating in secret for many years, the details of the Hellfire Club at Mendham Abbey were recounted in a popular novel in the year 1760. It captivated the public's imagination to the point that tourists began to line the shores to spot the sex monks arriving. But not wanting to give up his weird sex parties, Dashwood bounced back by having an elaborate system of caves dug on his own private property a few miles away from the abbey. And it was here
Damn.
that the monks of the Hellfire Club continued to hold their orgies in
cave
total privacy.
sex, yes.
This new location and the fact that it was gated from the public and accessible only to club members lends further credence to Franklin's participation. As he once wrote in a letter, "The exquisite sense of classical design charmingly reproduced at West Wycombe is as evident below the earth as above it." Author Daniel Mannix argues that Franklin's letter must be referring to the caves, and further adds that, quote, Franklin would have been short-sighted if he hadn't joined the club. He was a diplomat trying to help his country, and the club gave him the entree to some of the most influential men in England. So as the guest lists for secret societies are kind of hard to crack, we will never know for sure if Franklin attended any of these salacious affairs, but his documented friendship with Dashwood and his time spent at the estate puts it well within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And if you're left wondering if a sex club fits with Franklin's moral compass, then let's take one last look at the man's true character
hell yeah.
with some passages from an infamous piece penned by Franklin himself titled Advice to a Young Man on the Choice of a Mistress. This
Oh, hell yeah. Benjamin Franklin wrote a side chick guide.
is a letter in which Ben Franklin encourages his friend to go after older women. It was written in 1745, a copy of it sits in the Library of Congress, and it's kind of gross.
And here to present this letter through the magic of theater is Benjamin Franklin himself.
Wait, let me move my stuff.
It is I, Benjamin Franklin, by some curious miracle transported to a most peculiar time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Ben, we've learned a lot about you today, but we have some lingering questions.
Right.
Why did you enjoy the company of older women?
Because as they have more knowledge of the world and their minds are better stored with observations.
They have more knowledge of the world, and by world, he means balls. My first time was a much older woman. She was 30 years my senior. That woman was patient and taught me everything I needed to know as a young man.
Their conversation is more improving and more lastly agreeable. Wouldn't you say?
Sure, I guess.
Wasn't he like 70 years old when he wrote this letter? Why does he look so young right now?
Because the sin is less.
No.
Part 1.
Ask him.
No, if this was written in 1745, he would have been about 40 when he wrote this, because I believe he was born in 1706. So he would have been 40. So in his 40s, like I said, he was into much older women. It was once he hit his 60s and 70s that he started taking an interest in much younger women. But again, he still tried to seduce that mother-daughter combo, the illustrious, the holy grail of sexual conquests, the mother-daughter.
He was old. He's an old man.
I'm old.
Hey, Ben.
Go ahead, son.
Why do you prefer the company of older women?
Because the sin is less, my dear boy. The debauching a virgin may be her ruin and make her for life unhappy.
It's not even that, man. I just don't get the big thing about virgins because I don't have time. Like, I'm teacher ready, but I ain't that kind of teacher, man. I got that kind of time to be showing you the ropes. You know, I need me somebody with experience who knows their way around things, and you know knows a few tips and tricks for the tips. Yeah, I ain't got time for that.
That's deep.
Do you have any more reasons?
That's what she said.
Yep. Because in every animal that walks upright, the deficiency of the fluids that fill the muscles appears first in the highest part. The face first grows lank and wrinkled, then the neck, then the breasts and the arms. The lower parts continuing to last as plump as ever, so that the covering all above with a basket and regarding only what is below the girdle, it is impossible of two women to know an old one from a young.
To be clear.
Yo, man, that's some straight bullshit because I've been in gym locker rooms and yeah, those old men, yeah, you could definitely tell an old man's penis from a young man's penis. Trust me, especially them stones, the things that separate us from women. Those things, man, those are like those. Remember, like back in the day, we had those click-clacks. Yeah, that's what them nutsacks be looking like, man. Pair of click-clacks.
He's like paper bagging it.
You're saying when you put a basket over the head of a woman.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know!
History will tell. History will tell.
I think history has told. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
It was a different time.
Oh, well, yeah, you could tell an old vagina from a young one too, trust me.
He got really weird.
He was a pretty weird guy.
Really weird.
Thanks, dude.
I mean, I definitely think it would be an interesting movie, but as a person, I wouldn't really want to hang out with him.
Well, there you have it, folks. Ben Franklin.
I would definitely
a
hang out with him.
surprisingly multifaceted individual. History. It's never that boring if you just know where to look.
Very true. Very true. That was a lot of fun. That was entertaining as all hell, and I hope people learned a little bit here and there about one of our greatest founding fathers. I mean, hey, the man liked, he liked his sex. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Sex ain't a bad thing. And having sex with a lot of people doesn't make you a bad person. Don't judge me. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting the show. If you want to support Teacher Eddie himself, again, please check out the links in the description. Please check out the Twitch channel, brand new, going to be streaming on Twitch for the first time tomorrow, Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. The Getting Strange podcast with Eddie and Allie. As always, going to shout out the Patreons, get up on out of here, and I will see you in the next one. Fam! And shouting out the Patreons who keep things running, starting with the Chancellors. Chris H., Blue Tech, Phoenix, Laughing Jackal, Electra James, Elena G., and Douglas C. The Principals, James R., Spacey Doodle, Ulrike, Mick, Quiet J, Clement, Vijandra, Murika Kairi, Alan, Chad, Alex, Lauren, Aaron Shepard, Chris L., Lord Gandalf, Freeman, Nathan, Rasmus, Harry, The Boggle, Sophia, Robin, Luna, and Grumpy Scots. I've been Teacher Eddie, and I'll see you next time.